they did what they had to do, and man, they shocked the world because everybody in the world and their mom was picking the Lions except for that team and people in DC. So that's the best thing I saw, and I don't think it's close to real. To be honest with you.
Greetings and salutations and welcome to the Eye Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Keith Adams. And on today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition, week 20 of the NFL season, we're going to do a division playoff review, talk a little bit about coaching moves, and a conference championship preview. Oh man, with us today, Commanders fan extraordinaire, Will Cotton, captain for life. Will, what was the best thing you saw all weekend?
Man, I'm not even going to be quiet about it. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, Commanders upsetting the Lions. I mean, if you follow the show, we're big fans of Lions fans. We love Dan Campbell, and I hate it to be him. But, sometimes the better player just rises to the top like cream, man. And Jaden Daniels legit shows that he is a force in the NFC East for the next 10, 15 years. I mean, such poise. The dude was moving, a different speed. But let's get back to, the best thing. As a team, they played very well. They covered up a lot of their deficiencies in terms of stopping the run. They gave up two touchdowns to Gibbs. It's tough to come back from that. But everything else, they did what they needed to do. They got a turnover that turned into points. A pick six, can't have that in the playoff. They had a couple picks. And they were very timely with their tackles, man. And they limited the Lions to quick series, and that's what they had to do. They did what they had to do, and man, they shocked the world because everybody in the world and their mom was picking the Lions except for that team and people in DC. So that's the best thing I saw, and I don't think it's close to real. To be honest with you.
George Ockett, academic and athletic consultant for the CK Safe Project. What was the best thing you saw this weekend?
Best thing I saw this weekend was the return of the King. The thing I will from watching these games, I understand why the Chiefs are who they are. They know how to play championship football. They don't let minuscule little things happen, and if another team does it, they're going to capitalize. They Chiefs don't do anything to beat themselves, even with all their wild plays and stuff like that. And the one thing you always got to remember, if you put the King in a situation with a chance, I don't care if you got three Bammers holding on to him and dragging him the ground, he's going to make it happen like he did. So that was the best thing I saw this week.
All right. I want to jump in on the best thing, and it had to do with Commanders fans all week leading to the game. When you work in this area, you live in this area, especially folks around my age, if you grew up as a Commanders fan, you saw 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. Joe Gibbs, you had the bandwagon with Tony Kornheiser, and then you had nothing. You had nothing at all. And all of the venom went to one person, and that was the owner of the team. So to see people at the grocery store, to see people at the water cooler, to say, hey, you watching the game, to see gear, it's a beautiful thing. And as somebody who coached a team that brought the community together, Will's senior year, we made a run to the state finals, and at Comcast Center, where the University of Maryland plays, it's called Xfinity now. People hadn't seen each other in 10 to 15 years, all came to the game to support 15, 16, 17-year-old kids. So, yeah, that was awesome, and congratulations to them. Cotton Man, what is the worst thing you saw this weekend?
Man, the worst I saw was the lack of usage of Derrick Henry in the game that we just saw between the Ravens and the Bills. I mean, I don't know. We have two teams. We have the Eagles, who went and they got Saquon Barkley, and the Ravens, and they got Derrick Henry. One of them is going to be in the NFC Championship, and one is not, because one team decided to get cute with their offense and try to do things that they could, that they know at the end of the day, you got to do your bread and butter, which is running the ball in the playoffs. And that's what the Eagles did. Jalen Hurts, he didn't have a lot of runs, he didn't have a lot of stats, but the best thing he could do is just hand that ball off to that man behind him and let him cook. And that's what they couldn't do in Baltimore. And it's maddening, because this is the same thing we see all the time. Harbaugh, whatever his name, Harbaugh, always overthinking, always putting out terrible plays. I mean, there was how many series or that we saw when DH would get a run and he would run 10, 15 yards, and then he wouldn't touch the ball the rest of the series. You know what I'm saying? It's stupid. And then you come out, you know, and I don't want to pile on Mark Andrews. I get it. It happens, but 2 yards. You have to get it. You have to get a conversion. You have to get it in the end zone. You know, give the ball to the Bama that you pay money for him to come here, and let him cook. You have 2 yards, and you have a 265-pound running back who is on fire. Nobody, they really couldn't stop him. I mean, they couldn't. When they gave him the ball, he ran right down the field and scored. So that's the worst thing. Just John Harbaugh overthinking and terrible calling plays, and not giving the ball to DH when he should have. And that kind of was the best thing for me. The worst thing for me. Sorry.
All right, George, what was the worst thing you saw this weekend?
Ravens tight end play. Will got on this about going to Mark Henry and this whole situation. They ran the ball 30 times. They could have given it to him more, but when we're going to come down, we're going to talk about what happened. We got to talk about tight end play and holding on to the ball, because the two major plays in the game that cost the Ravens the game were both tight end holding on to the ball. You could have gone with Mark Henry on the 2-point conversion, but let's look at it. Andrews was wide open. It hit him in the hands. He gets paid big money to catch the ball. He does not catch the ball, lost game. The Ravens get in the hole because as they are driving downfield, Mark Andrews catches a big pass by himself, and he allows the ball, because he showed it out front instead of tucking it in. He allows it to get punched out, and the Bills go down to score. So you want to talk, worst thing I see, and it's because it's fresh on my mind because I had to see it. It was tight end plays by the Ravens today.
All right. Jumping in. For me, the worst thing I saw this weekend was all of this belly aching on the internet about officiating. I got meme after meme about Kansas City and the referees and the fixes in. Hey, as Bret Hart said to Shawn Michaels, why don't you get some insides? Why don't you play better and stop looking elsewhere, start looking within? And as Michael Joseph Jackson would say, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Play better. The answer to most questions is get better or do better. I don't want to hear about these officiating. And there was a bunch of whining, and the sun was in my eye. I had the flu. I slipped on a banana peel. Paulie was the ninja. He didn't move. The referees were all against Houston and CJ Stroud. Man, excuses don't get the job done. All right. Haven't said that rant in a while, Will. Most surprising thing, God, man. What was
most surprising for me was, most surprising for me was probably the Eagles. I expected them to really beat down the Rams. I expected them to beat them by 2 touchdowns. I just think they were the better team. I think they were ready to go. They were at home. It was rain. It was not rain. It was snowing crazy. They had the better running back. And I expected them not that I didn't expect them to win. I thought it was going to be a convincing win for them. I thought it was going to be a convincing, like, okay, we beat the Rams' ass. Now we go into the NFC Championship to meet the Commanders. That's what I thought the narrative that they were going to have. But now when I look at it, I see, okay, they're like, well, we won. And now we're going to go in there and play a hot team right now. And I have to say, man, Commanders have a great chance to shock the world. I'm not saying they won't, but from what I saw from Philly, they don't look unbeatable, and that is not the way you want to look going into the championship game. But that was the most surprising thing I saw this week.
Okay, George, what was the most surprising thing you saw, sir?
The Commanders. Nobody expect them to be there, except for everybody here at home. But I think everybody here at home even was worried because they didn't know what was going to happen. But Jaden continues to show up. He continues to play great. This is a repeat. It shows you what happens when you got a coach who has a system and you can hang your hat on some things. And the Commanders, I keep wanting to say the Redskins, the Commanders actually come out of this situation with two. Ian Keefe, you can talk bad about him. The offensive coordinator is doing a hell of a job. Two, their quarterback is doing a hell of a job, and he has breathed life into the franchise. This is a repeat of last year because if we go back and look, the Texans were in the same spot last year. C.J. Stroud took them right to the AFC Championship game. So it's you get part two. So we'll see how it all goes. But they're playing with house money right now.
Yeah. For me, the most surprising thing I saw was the fact that big time players laid eggs. One of the expressions we use in athletics, coaching, what have you, big time players step up in big time situations because that's why they're big time. That's why they're paid all that money. And we had quarterbacks throwing interceptions. We had sure-handed receivers dropping balls. We had all types of things from the elites. It's one thing if a backup does it. That's why you're a backup, as we like to say. Don't let secondary become primary. But primary is supposed to be primary, and there was some primary players that just, as we say in wrestling, just didn't get the job done. So with that, in segment 2, we'll talk about two teams with some coaching issues, Pittsburgh and Dallas. And in segment 3, we'll give you a preview of the conference championships. Be right back on the iCoaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Safe Project, with a question for you. Are you passionate about supporting student athletes? If so, then become an official member of the CKA Safe Project and make a difference today. With your membership, you'll be able to help us provide essential academic and athletic support to underserved communities nationwide. Join us in empowering student athletes to achieve their full potential, both on and off the field. Together, we can build a brighter future through education and sports. Visit ckasafeproject.org and choose your membership level now. $25 is a bronze level membership, $50 is a silver level membership, and $100 is a gold level membership. Be a part of the change. Become a member of the CKA Safe Project today. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 2, we've got to talk some coaching stuff. So coaching's hard, leadership's a process, and we want to talk about Pittsburgh, and we want to talk about Dallas. And as we tape this, as it comes out, Inauguration Day has come and gone. And as a history person, in the final weeks of the 1980 presidential campaign, Ronald Reagan, the Republican nominee, mentioned in a debate with President Jimmy Carter that the two candidates, he said to the public, "Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?" And Jimmy Carter said no. So, gentlemen, Pittsburgh, 2017 to 2020, 42, 21-1, 65% winning percentage. 2021, 2024, 38, 29-1. That's a 55% winning percentage. Will, we're not questioning whether Mike Tomlin is a great coach. We're questioning, has he been in Pittsburgh too long? What say you, sir?
I think, I think that's what Pittsburgh likes. I think Pittsburgh knows what they got. I think they know going out and getting another coach is a lot more difficult than you think. Because if you think about it like this, if the Pittsburgh job was open, and let's say it wasn't Mike Tomlin, and Mike Tomlin now was interviewing for that job, they would hire him, and so would a ton of coaches, a lot of teams. I'm sorry. So it's not so much Tomlin. I think they need some younger coordinators. I mean, because remember, their coordinator was who Arthur
Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith.
Arthur Smith.
Terrible. Terrible. I mean, terrible. Terrible. Get him some good OC. He has a great defensive mind. And just, stick with it. Because to be honest with you, there's nothing out there that Pittsburgh can pull and hire that's gonna create immediate change. I say stick with what you got. There's no reason to step out. If you're looking at it and saying, hey, if making the playoffs every year is boring, well, sure, I'll take boring. I'll take some boring. So I don't think they have to get rid of them. I think they need to rethink their strategy of how they build their teams and think about what they have to do for their coordinators. But I wouldn't get rid of Mike Tomlin. The man is a leader. You don't get rid of leadership, and that's what you have. So
Yeah, the Giants did that this year, and see where it got 'em.
yeah, I would stick with Tomlin.
All right, George, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? The data says one thing. What does George Ockett say?
Well, why don't you go look at the team? What receivers did he have? What
Right.
what
George,
what
George Pickens. That's your best.
look what kind of offensive line did they deal with? Because they didn't have a back get anywhere close to 1,000 yards.
No.
Look at the secondary. It was cheese whiz. Everybody threw the ball up and down the floor or up and down the field on them. There's not the defense was predicated off the rush. The line had to get to the quarterback in order for it to be effective because they knew the secondary was terrible. On offense, they had one receiver and, this year, Russell Wilson to make some magic. So I'm not mad at Mike Tomlin. He worked with what he had. There wasn't much there. They were not a very good team. We started this season off by having a conversation. We were going through each of the teams. And the first thing we said about Pittsburgh, secondary was terrible. So, and it showed. So that you're talking about getting rid of Tomlin because he continues to make
Chicken salad.
take big shit and still get you where you need to be. And it's still big shit. So it is
Best damn chicken salad without raisins.
All right. So, George, I'm going to stay with you. We want to talk Dallas. Jimmy Johnson, 1989 to 1993. He was 44-36, 55% win total. From 1991 to 1993, his last 3 years, he was 36-12, 75% winning percentage, and 7-1 in the postseason. Since his departure after the 1993 season, the Dallas Cowboys have experienced a variety, a little bit of success, a little bit of failure. 1994 to 2024, 275 wins, 225 losses, 55% winning percentage. The owner, Jerry Jones, is 82 years old with a $17 billion net worth. If you're the Dallas Cowboys, what do you do, man?
Well, what can you do? I mean, you're stuck because you have a owner who thinks he knows what football is about, and he's going to be extremely involved. So when he was not involved, we were a dynasty. And when he got mad about that because it was an ego thing because it was about, he wanted it to be about him and not about the coach or the team. I mean, let's go with the old Parcells adage. Jimmy Johnson was he was shopping for the groceries and buying the groceries. He's putting them in the right spot. So now we got a situation where you fall out with Jimmy over who is the actual star of the team of the franchise. Jimmy leaves. You win one Super Bowl with Jimmy's players, and then from then on out, it's been rinse and repeat. We tried it with Parcells. Parcells came in. He bought the groceries. Things turned around because we had some dogs, and they were decent. But before Parcells could get it finished, him and Jimmy fell out again. So
Mhm.
I mean, him and Jerry fell out again. So when you have a owner that meddles and wants to be his cachet, wanting to be bigger than the team, this is the end result. We'll have every other year or every 2 years, we'll be 12-4 or 12 and whatever, and right there in the playoff mix, and we'll get into the first round or second round, and we won't get past. It'll be the same thing. This is a rinse and repeat situation. In a year or two, we'll look back. Dallas will be back. Have 12 wins again, and they'll be in the playoffs and lose in the first or second round because it'll keep going because they'll draft them, but there's no coach, and if there is, the coach is not allowed to coach. So
Mm.
it is what it is.
All right, so Will, this is a great segue. Your organization, and shout out to the Sean Taylor throwback. They removed an owner and shut my mouth and called me cornpone. You've got the town on fire, and everyone just feels fresh, dude, and winning. So if you're Dallas, what do you do? What do you do?
Like George said, you're kind of stuck. I think there's a video floating around, and I may have sent it to you guys or not, but there's a juxtaposition of Josh Harris and Magic Johnson talking about how they built the team for this year, and they said, we hired these people and we stepped away. We hired the right people and we let them manage things. We got a coach, he managed it, great. We got a GM, he managed it, great. You never hear about Josh Harris. You don't hear about what Magic Johnson's doing. Neither one of them really be given quotes. And then on the same time, they show Jerry Jones doubling down, saying, "No, I don't need help getting a GM. I don't need help doing that." Now, the man is 82 years old. You know, if you want to be a GM in name, that's fine, but you need to hire people to do the legwork, to do the thing. He's very involved. Now, the thing is, like George says, Jerry not afraid to jump in there. I think that's what keeps Dallas relevant. I think they have a good brand. He goes out, he gets good players. Like you said, he'll find a good coach that put the talent and they'll make the playoffs, but they'll never let him get or at least build on that success. When you look at the previous coach, Mark McCarthy, all you had to do was just build on what he had. I mean, you guys were in the playoff 2 years ago and you guys won the division. You didn't need much. You had to re-sign a couple. I get like Dak getting hurt, nothing like that. You can't really, blame stuff like that. But, it also like, it doesn't give you a lot of hope when the owner is like, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I know I don't care what you're telling me. I'm going to keep doing it. And it doesn't really give them much hope. So, like George says, I don't really know what you do until he passes away because he's not going to lose money. He's not going to sell the house. He's not going to sell the team, and he's not going to relinquish the GM-ship. So I think you kind of have to wait, like Al Davis, and say, okay, he passed away. What's going to happen? Or you become so old that his sons are like, yo, this is not happening. But like George said, unless he's there. Like if Dan Snyder's there, if Mike Davis is there, if Woody Johnson is there, those teams will never get better. It doesn't matter.
The one thing though, the oxymoron with this is, as long as Jerry's there and Jerry's running his mouth, the team is still front page news. Okay,
Yeah.
there's only there's positions in the sporting world that mean something more. Shortstop for the New York Yankees, starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. That has a glory to him and all. And Jerry does continue to pump that It's why they're what are they, the number 1 or 2 top franchise?
Evaluate. Yeah, yeah.
So that is there, and it'll keep being like that because
Mm-hmm.
Jerry's going
The
to
brand.
continue to model. Yeah, the brand is solid. It's just that he ain't gonna let a coach coach. He ain't gonna let a coach do his job, and
Yeah.
because he's gonna meddle, which causes issues. Yeah.
All right. So fans, when we
I don't think
get
he
back,
shouldn't have fired Mark McCarthy. I mean, there's really no reason to fire Mike
his
McCarthy. There really
contract
wasn't.
expired, so I don't believe
I mean,
he was
who
fired.
else are you going to hire? I mean, now not only that, you're so far behind where other people are interviewing and calling and seeing where you need to go. Tomlin's not going to be available. You know, all the good coaches, Ben Johnson, he's probably not going over there. He's interviewing with those. He may talk to Cliff
Prime
Kingsbury.
time's available.
He said, who?
Prime time's available.
Prime ain't going.
Prime ain't going there. I would never. Those egos would never work. Prime and Jerry's egos would never work.
Kellen Moore, he's available.
Well,
Kellen Moore would be a puppet. That's the worst thing that you can have. That's the worst on the opposite end of the spectrum.
But that's exactly what Jerry wants, because you're talking about Dallas is behind. In Jerry's mind, he's not, because Jerry can do whatever he needs. He can do that. Jerry, we've gone through puppets. We went through 10 years of Jason Garrett.
Jason Garrett.
Yeah.
I mean, he turned Mike McCarthy into a puppet. His first puppet was Barry Switzer, and Switzer won.
Straight puppet
for
right
sure.
there.
For sure. But that's why Parcells didn't work. That's why Wade Phillips didn't work. Is because they're not puppets.
Wade was a puppet. They won a championship with a puppet. So Jerry thinks it can happen again. And the crazy thing about it was when Barry Switzer came in, the players were so good, and Jimmy had instilled.
But the structure was different of Dallas when Barry took over. It's like when Gruden went over to the Buccaneers. Like the foundation was set. The players were set.
Yeah, it was Jimmy's machine. It was Jimmy's machine.
Just get out of the way, baby. Just get out of the way.
Just get behind the wheel. That's all you gotta do.
Yes, and
don't crash. Don't crash this Rolls Royce.
Selfishly, post your high school career, they had a nice little run as well. So with that, in segment 3, we'll talk and preview the championship weekend, both NFC and AFC. We'll be right back on the Yacht Coaches Podcast. This is Dr. Keith Adams, president of the CKA Save Project and author of Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. This book is your key to unlocking the secrets of being a successful student athlete. Drawing from my 30-year career as a teacher and coach, this instructional guide offers a unique perspective on achieving success in both academics and athletics. With over 15 personal stories and insightful anecdotes, Finding the Balance is a must-read for student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators. Visit www.ckasaveproject.org to get your copy and start finding the balance today. Welcome back to the Yacht Coaches Podcast in segment 3. All right. Conference championships. Gentlemen, let's start off with the NFC. The Washington Commanders, or as Bram Weinstein would say, the Cardiac Commanders against the Philadelphia Eagles. 2 NFC East teams playing for the richest prize, playing for the opportunity for the richest prize in the sport. Will, this is your squad. What are you thinking about Commanders, Eagles? Give me your prediction.
Man, I'm happy to be here. I'm just happy to be here. I had no kind of belief that we'd be in this situation to have this conversation. So I'm happy that we're even having that conversation. It would be, I'm all in on the Commanders. There's no reason to not to. I think at the end of the day, the Eagles defense is amazing right now. Just watching them yesterday, those dudes are locked in. The DBs are locked in. Jalen Carter, that dude is amazing. He's a beast inside, But like I've said, Commanders have already seen the Eagles twice. There's nothing that is going to fear them or scare them that or make them say, "Oh, well, we can't win." You know, they seen Saquon their entire career. I mean, it ain't like he came from somewhere else. He been in the NFC his entire career. They've seen Saquon a ton of times. You know, so I mean, just like last week, everyone said the Lions were just going to walk over them and win, but now with Jalen Hurts a little injured, now the Eagles can't run their favorite play, the tush push or the brotherly shove, as I like to say. I like that one much better, the brotherly shove. But without that key play they had, we'll see what happens because then if you're 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, I mean, you have a great option. Give the ball to Saquon. But you lose a key opponent of your plays. I think we'll see what happens. And Jalen Hurts has not have been playing very well. And if we look traditionally into the playoffs, the winner goes to the better playing quarterback. Just like with the Ravens and the Bills, it's unfortunate, but Josh Allen played better. He didn't turn the ball. He didn't turn. Say what you want, George. He didn't turn the ball over. He didn't throw. He didn't have any interceptions. He didn't have any fumbles. So he played better. Say what
And
you
two
want.
touchdowns.
And 2 touchdowns. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over. The better playing quarterback will probably win, and the better playing quarterback right now is Jane Daniels. Give me the Commanders with a close win.
All right, George. Commanders, Eagles. We've talked about that Eagles locker room, and I still don't know if they're liking each other. And at some moment, is there going to be a heel turn? What are you thinking about with your prediction?
Um, it's gonna be ugly. I'm looking for. I'm probably looking at a real ugly game next week. Um, and I think that and when I say ugly, Philadelphia gonna make it ugly. It's gonna be some big hits. Gonna be some the line play is gonna be very important, and it's probably gonna be tight. And I got it. It's gonna be tight. I got right now I gotta say the Eagles will win it. But the Magic. And we'll see how long the Magic lasts because they shaking the branch and their fairy dust is gone, and they playing with house money right now. So we're gonna see what happens. So we'll see what happens. But I got it. If I gotta call it right now, I'm calling the Eagles and the squeaker. And Will, as your comment, the better playing quarterback. Yeah, he did, but I can't even go there when the dude drops the damn ball in the end zone.
But he had a terrible pick early on, and then he also had a bad fumble. But it was a bad snap. I would say that it was a bad snap. He should have
Fall
just
down,
curled
man.
up,
Like we
fell
teach them
down.
little
He was
kids.
doing the
Well,
most. He was doing the
I
most.
want to ask you a question. If dude catches the ball in the end zone, who wins?
Yeah, Lamar, we're not having that
Oh,
conversation.
okay, all right. That's all
We're
I
not having
need.
that conversation.
That's all that needs to be said. That's all that needs to be said.
All right.
Yeah, no
So
way.
for me, Commanders, Eagles. Commanders are playing on house money, but as a coach, I am concerned that the Eagles didn't spread the ball around to their receivers. That hasn't happened throughout the playoffs, and that's going to be a problem because that's what most teams have exploited with the Commanders. Secondary players for the Commanders played like primary guys. B. Rob has been getting ripped, and he played well. But again, this is about talent, and if you match up talent position by position, I just kind of think the Eagles are better overall, offense, defense, and special teams. So the Eagles should win and represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. But that's what I'm basing it off of. George, I'm going to start with you for the AFC. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. It's just like the third time Josh Allen gets a shot at this thing. I mean, he's got to be chomping at the bit. What are you thinking about the game, sir?
He gonna keep chomping. Because remind me, is this is playoff time, right?
This is it.
This is Kansas. This when Kansas City flips the switch, right? So, and they already showed it already this weekend. We watched them do it. They've been playing like duck sauce all season, just squeaking by, and they get in the game against Houston, and that defense just came together, and the King what he needed to do. So, and even wait a minute, we even sat in and talked about I know we did this on the text line too, talking about Kelsey and being out of shape and whatever. And Kelsey goes for 100, and I don't know how many touchdowns, like 2 touchdowns. Um, they that weight, that monkey on Josh Allen's back is big, and can he get over that monkey against the King? I can't. I don't. I don't think he can. I think it'll be. It should probably be a tight game. We'll see. The pressure will wind up at some point in time. Tight game. Pressure got to get to Buffalo. We'll see if they can handle it. But I can't. How do you bet against the Chiefs? How? You can't. So
We'll see what the computer says. Okay, Will. Chiefs. Bills. What are you thinking, sir?
Oh, I'm with George. I'm with George. I think the Chiefs are a much better coaching. I think their coaching staff is better than the Bills and the Ravens will be. Josh Allen, even though he didn't, and I said he didn't have any turnovers and he played very well. He didn't play very. He didn't do enough. That you're not going to beat Patrick Mahomes with 16 completions and 127 yards. You're not going to beat that. The defense from the Chiefs are much better. Their defensive line is much better. It'll be tough. And you're not going to be at home. You're going to be in Kansas City. And a lot of jokes that make people say when you're playing against Kansas City, you're playing against 13 or 14 because you're playing against the refs and the umpires around them. I hear that, but Josh Allen has not really shown me that he's ready to go yet for Mahomes. And I know Mahomes is thinking about that loss that he took early in the season from the Bills. I know he's thinking about that. And I know he's making it personal. And I know people are looking at it and they're saying Lamar MVP, Josh Allen MVP. And I know Mahomes, if he's built with the same cloth like Jordan and all the other greats, Brady, all those guys, he took that personal. He took that personal, and he's taken that nobody's even really mentioned him anymore except me and really mostly George. So I know he's pissed off, and he has a right to be, because until you beat the King, you can't be called the King. You can't be. You can say Lamar better. You can say Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. We excited about Jane Daniel. Ain't nobody beat the King yet, and I think he takes that personal. And like you said, Coach, I think he was waiting just in time, because now Kelsey is turning on. This is when he turns on. This is when this is where all of a sudden he becomes elusive and you can't catch him. He catches everything, and he turns 20 yard catches to 4 yard catches.
He had the shoulder shake this week, and
Exactly.
I haven't seen that since he's calling them fat.
People don't. They have two really good running backs.
Right.
Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, very good, and they run differently. And that's what you do in the winter. So give me the Chiefs, man. I think the Bills are just not ready yet. I think it was a great season for them. For Josh Allen, personally, I think, he had a great chance to win the MVP, but you're not ready yet to go against the King. And you're just not ready yet.
I don't think he got enough. Buffalo, I don't think they got enough. They got enough to come take it. But we will see. But the one thing I do want to address, since Keith, you brought up earlier, you talked about, you heard all this crying online and the internet. It's funny how fans do, because if we go back a few years, the same crying, and I probably was guilty of it too, in it, about Tom Brady and the Patriots when they were going through. Oh, they get all the calls. Oh, they get this. Oh, they made a new rule for Brady for the tuck rule and this, that, and the other. But bottom line was, they were like a well-oiled machine, dog. They didn't beat themselves. And if you made a mistake, they were gonna beat you. If they had you down and they had your foot on your jugular, they were stepping on it. And that's what I see with the Chiefs right now. And it's the same thing. He can go, like the King can go through here and only throw for 200 yards, but it'll be 200 yards in those specific times where it's back and kill him. So
and Kelsey ain't dropping that, and Kelsey ain't dropping no pass like that.
No, Kelsey
not no pass like that.
Kelsey ain't dropping that.
Ain't no way.
All right, I've got a pencil in my hand.
That's a gimme
for the wrestling reference. So if I'm booking this, not that we believe in conspiracy theories, but Kansas City is trying to do something that has never been done in the history of football, and that's win 3 state championships in the Super Bowl era. You also have Buffalo, who is like Cody, who has a story. They went 0 for 4 in Super Bowls. So again, I'm not saying it, but you also have Travis Kelce's girlfriend, who is the most famous pop star in the universe. So again, how are you going to book this if you had the pencil? So do you want Eagles and Chiefs to go with that Andy Reid, Kansas City Eagles type history, or do you want a repeat of the Commanders and the Bills in the Super Bowl and what happened with that? So
No, I'd rather see if I'm booking it, because to me, if I'm booking it,
go ahead.
The Chiefs were like the Horsemen back in the day. You got Ric Flair, running things with Pat Mahomes, and you got Travis Kelce as Tully Blanchard with Baby Doll. So we bringing that in. We bringing that in. Learjets, limousine, champagne, Rolex watches. That's how we're coming. And if I want the perfect staged opponent, it would be the Commanders. Young Bucks don't know any better. We're gonna come in here, we're gonna fight, and we're gonna go ahead.
Old head with Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
And
Native
the new
American
kid
Bowl.
coming through. Not that we believe in all of this, because the NFL would never script anything.
That would be
the Native American Bowl. The Chiefs,
stop.
not anymore. The Commanders.
That's another gimmick right there. All right, so fans, with that, on behalf of my Cavalcade Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we'll see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.